Okay, so we are in week 2. This is our Finish Strong leadership series. And this whole 6-week series is about taking the mindset that it is up to us to finish our year strong. That could be mentally and physically. We have a health and fitness initiative going on under this Finish Strong idea. But for those of us who are business owners, which all of us on this call are, and those who are going to watch in the recording, this is a time of year where I notice 2 mindsets. Number one, some people fall into the mindset of, this is a crazy time of year. I'm going to pick business back up in January. And then those who continue to do little daily habits, who continue to push their vision forward, or really allow the vision to pull them forward, even during this time, planting seeds along the way is what produces results in January. We have seen it every single time this season hits in our own businesses. And I know we're going to talk a lot about that with our special guest, Jocelyn, tonight. So these calls are really designed to have you think differently, really give you the opportunity to have a check-in point once a week to start your week off strong, so that no matter what else happens throughout the week, you really have an opportunity to take those actions that you know are going to have you where you want to be come January 1st. We would be doing a disservice if we didn't cover the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, which is this entire idea of your abundance mindset. Now, that can seem a little woo-woo, and it is. We're all about that woo-woo here, because here's the deal. If you are trying to go somewhere new, whether it be in your fitness, in your business, you have to cultivate the mindset and the habits that are not only going to get you there, but are going to have you stay there. And we see this especially when it comes to new business builders, whether it be in our Isogenics team, our network marketing business. I see it all the time when working and coaching around other, traditional business owners, that if we're not conscious of growing our financial and abundance mindset, our ability to receive, sometimes that can actually put up a block between us and the difference that we want to make. Because at the end of the day, this really is all about impact. And I know that all of us are taking time out of our Monday night because we have a desire to serve and impact on a higher level. So I am so excited to dive into this topic tonight and break down anything that could be in the way between you making that impact, but also being compensated generously for it. And we believe that you can have the best of both worlds, and that creating an income can come through creating an impact. So when we were designing the schedule, the first person who came to mind when I thought of this topic is my dear friend, Jocelyn. And I'm going to give her a proper introduction. She and I met through a personal development seminar. So I think that's a clue. If you want to meet people who are up to changing their life and doing big things, hang out around personal development seminars. But what's been cool is that the women who we met as over 7 years ago, I think, are totally different than the women we are today. So we've really gotten to watch each other grow, and we've built some businesses together in Isogenics. We've built some businesses apart. So I'm going to have her share a little bit more about what her and her husband Aaron are doing right now. But what's cool about it is I've gotten to watch their investment in themselves, specifically in the area of their financial mindset, and have seen directly the results. So this isn't just one of those things that I read in a book and it sounds great. I've literally watched this woman grow, and the impact that her and her husband are able to make exponentially grow along with it. So help me welcome Jocelyn. Jocelyn hails from Scottsdale, Arizona, which a lot of us do as well. But do you want to start off, Joss, just by sharing a little bit of your journey and how the idea of growing your financial mindset has really played a role in that?
Yes, absolutely. And it is fun to think that 7 years ago we met, and at that time, honestly, money was nowhere near my strong suit. So I was actually a nurse, And I grew up in a household that was very like scarcity mindset. Even with my mom, there were times we were on food stamps. I slept on people's couches. My dad, they got a divorce. He would hold money over my mom's head. So money was always a very scary topic. So even when I became a nurse and started to make more money than I ever have had, I had such anxiety from my past that I'll never forget. Like my first paycheck, I went to buy myself a nice purse. I just wanted a nice purse. It was so hard for me to ever buy something nice in my life. And I went to buy a Coach purse, and it was like $300 and something. I could definitely afford it. And I had so much anxiety that I went and returned it the next day. Like I couldn't even keep the purse. So I was making more money, and yet I just had such incongruent beliefs and feelings about money. So then I start personal development and start to realize, wow, okay, anything is possible. I start breaking down beliefs. I actually start to realize that while I was satisfied in nursing, I wasn't completely fulfilled. So I knew I wanted to make a change. I wasn't sure what it was. So then, I started to hear people talk about like making more money and meeting entrepreneurs. And to be honest, in the beginning, it didn't even occur to me as something I wanted because I didn't believe I could have more. So why would I even think about, wanting more? And I remember meeting Lindsay and we went to coffee, and she started to share about her entrepreneurial journey and, talking about being able to give more and earn more. And it didn't even come up as something I was going to make up desires. And I thought actually she was an employee of Isogenics. Like I didn't know what network marketing was. I didn't have entrepreneurs in my family. So that just is a snapshot to show you that you can start anywhere and get anywhere. And so anyway, I finally start to dream. I let myself think outside the box of the home and the car and start to think about a bigger impact and being able to give more, live a more luxurious lifestyle. I started to think about flying first class and traveling more than twice a year. And then I said, okay, I'm going to start to be an entrepreneur. Well, I still didn't have the belief. So I remember my first thing I was going to try to sell was $30. That was so scary. Like I hadn't sold anything in my entire life. And so $30, I was just like, it's $30. I was so nervous. And so I definitely had to upgrade my money mindset. And so I know Lindsay will ask some questions about what specifically I did, but then as I grew my money mindset, I then could sell $300. And I use the word sell intentionally. I'm even open to sharing about my context for sales because I have such an empowering context for sales now. So I use that word, and sometimes that triggers people, but I can share why I love that word. So then $300 became a no big deal. Then $3,000 became no big deal. Then $30,000 became no big deal. And then started to get angel investors, bring in other investors. I talked about $300,000. So it's so interesting how literally as I grew my money mindset, the number really didn't make any difference. And that's really what's helped my earning ability. And Erin and I is really getting that it actually has nothing to do with numbers, that there's not any real change between the 3,000 and the 300,000. It was all mindset and my belief about money, like what I actually thought about money. So I live a completely financially free life now. My husband and I are both retired from corporate. We travel 2, 3, 4 times a month, and just literally have the most freedom that we can have. And we could talk about investing and things like that as well. So it's unreal. It literally feels like different lifetimes almost. Like I feel sometimes like that was actually like a movie I watched. Like that other girl was a movie that I watched. You know what I mean? So I'm just really grateful.
Yeah, and I know we just gave like the highlight reel of what that journey has been like, because like we said, even since you and I met, it's been 7 years. Mm-hmm. So take us back to those initial steps when you started to wake up to the fact that there was the possibility for more. Mm-hmm. And what were those initial steps that you took, especially in the face of when it started to feel really uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the steps was I definitely hung out with Lindsay because she's always positive and always uplifting.
Right? I paid her to say that.
So definitely keep hanging around her, because all good things happen around her. And really, I mean, you were such, I'm not even trying to just make this about you, but you were such a catalyst for inviting me to workshops. So instead of, I used to go to like, my friends at the time really liked to go to bars or things like that. Instead, I started to go to workshops, and I started to read books about money instead of watch TV. Or, you know, I really started to limit other things that were distractions, and invested so much of my time into personal development, business development, and growing that way. So I would say really was part of the first actions was reorganizing my time. So I literally used to, before all this, spend maybe 15, 18 hours a week watching TV and movies. And I thought literally that was just fine, right? So instead I took a good portion of that and started to just read books, go to workshops. So time was a huge thing to reorganize, going to business workshops, and really learning about money, and then putting it into action. So I would then go and talk about a sale with somebody and then see how it went. Did they buy or not? And then I debrief with someone. Lindsay was one of my first coaches in business. So I'd say, okay, here's what happened. Here's how it went. So I definitely would encourage you, as if sounds like entrepreneurship is important to you, have somebody, a coach or a mentor, debrief your sales conversations to really go like, here's what I said and here's how it went, and then keep improving, because it is mindset, and then there's also delivery too. So don't be afraid to like literally talk it out. I said this and then they said this, and that's where I learned a ton about just even what I said and how impactful that was. Does that answer, Lindsay, a little bit?
Yes. And I'm going to circle back because I'm sure inquiring minds would love to know. You talked about books and seminars. What were your favorites? What were the most pivotal ones of either for you that you would recommend?
So the first personal development seminar that just opened my eyes in general to who I am and freeing myself from the past was the Landmark Forum. That's not specifically about money, and it's like foundation to transformation. Like, I would encourage everyone to do the Landmark Forum. And then specifically with money, T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, life-changing. And here's the thing though, a lot of people read it or listen to it and don't implement it. If you've listened to it or read it, go back to it and say, did I implement every single thing he taught? Because it really does matter, everything that you learn from that. Something that wasn't as early on, because I didn't know about it, but I wish I had known earlier on, so I'll tell you, is A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Super cheesy book cover, but life-altering money book. And like literally don't judge it by its cover at all. And let's see, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Those are the big ones that stand out in my mind.
Yeah, those are actually the exact same ones that I always recommend, at least for starters, for people too. So if you haven't read any of those, they are phenomenal. I'm actually just going back to A Happy Pocket Full of Money. That's kind of one that's good to reread. I think Secrets of the Millionaire Mind too. Both kind of cheesy titles, but great information in the books. Okay, I would love, since I know you and your story a little bit more, I would love for you to talk about the power of who you're surrounding yourself with, because this has been a huge change, maybe even more so for Aaron, your husband, but for you as well. How has that played a role in the success you've been able to create?
Totally, yeah. And friendships, I think, is such a big topic right now that people are really discovering. And the friends that I had when I first started my personal development journey, now they're great people. And it's not that they aren't, they were just on a different path. And I invited them into growth. I started to be like, hey, I'm going to go to this workshop, do you want to come? And they weren't really like leaning into it. And when I started to talk about entrepreneurship, it was kind of like, they were just like, cool, but like they weren't curious and engaged. So I honestly felt like when I was with them, it was the same conversation over and over. And for me, that's a clue sometimes when I've maybe outgrown people and they just didn't want to go along. I invited them and they didn't. So it really was so important to be around people who wanted to grow their business, or just grow themselves, even if they weren't entrepreneurs. So tribe has been absolutely critical. And having people that I remember actually like starting to reach out to people that I thought were inspiring and kind of being like, hey, I want to go to coffee, like let's be friends. And I know Lindsay said that before, like literally being like a kid and being like, hey, could we be friends? And really just saying to people, you inspire me, I'd like to get to know you more. And it's like my tribe, now that I look at like who I know, I didn't know any of those people just a few years ago, and it literally just came from reaching out and being like, let's get together and just creating gatherings for people. But who you hang around with is for sure important, because think about it, it's like, what are we talking about the majority of time? It really is like, especially as you want to grow your business, it's like really pay attention to what comes out of your mouth, and then also what you're hearing from people. So, are they speaking life into you? Are they inspiring? Are they creating? Because it's all impacting us. It's like words are the nourishment for us, both from what comes from us and from other people. So it's been incredible. And I constantly just keep checking in on like, how do I feel after I'm with certain people, and check in on like, do I feel more fulfilled afterwards?
So good. And I think just being conscious of that part of it, because so much for me, I know I've held on to friendships or relationships or just allowed them to be in my inner circle longer than I think I really deep down knew was serving my bigger purpose. And that's tough. I mean, as a recovering people pleaser, that was probably one of the toughest transitions. But also to realize that it wasn't so much about cutting anyone out. It was filling my life with people who were thinking at a bigger level. And as a result, I did have maybe a little bit less time to do some of the other activities or hang with certain people. But it didn't mean that I was cutting them out or cutting them off.
Of course.
You were someone who I think we just always have been able to be really open with each other about when we're going through those things with other relationships, having a person who understands, who gets it. And you've always been that for me, which I appreciate.
I'd also want to really quickly add too, that even being around empowering people, like what I pay attention to a lot now is powerful, inspiring, motivated people, but also people who are willing to share the breakdowns and the challenges, because there are those people that are like inspired and motivated all the time, but they won't tell you about any failure they've had, or you're like where things haven't gone well, or where they just had an argument. And so I think it's also important that there are people that are transparent and willing to just talk about the challenges too.
So true. And I think for all of us to remember to model that behavior looking at who is on the call right now and who I know is going to watch the recording, each and every one of these people are going to do huge things and already are. So remembering that, because I always resonate the most with the people who share the last time they ugly cried because of their business. That's always the litmus test. If they're willing to share that with me, then I'll hang around them. Okay, so I love that you touched on sales. And it's perfect because actually next week we're diving into the psychology, the wording, like how do you break yourself free from a fear of sales, a fear of selling, or how I would have put it back when I had a corporate job in sales and was like deathly afraid that my boss would figure out how bad I was at it. I was so afraid of coming across as salesy. Just being honest, show of hands, how many of you have dealt with like that block around selling yourself, a product, a service? Okay, I figured that might be the case. And so I love that you talked about that, because if we're being honest, abundance and growing our financial mindset as a pathway to growing the abundance that shows up in our life, the pathway to that is through sales. It's through providing value and giving value such that someone would want to invest their dollars back to you. Now, I wanted to circle back on the point you started to make earlier and have you dive a little deeper into that mental shift for yourself, because that's a perfect segue to what we're going to talk about next week.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, remember, it was like talking to somebody about $30 in the beginning was so scary. So I'll share maybe 2 points that made such a difference in my view. First off, I really changed what I believe money was. So now what I believe, and has really helped me over the last few years, is that money is just an exchange of value. That's all it is. It's an energy. Money is an energy, just like water, oil, and we just happen to have this like paper, or now it's just more so electronic. So it's just energy. So when I offer value to someone, an energy, they offer an energy back. Now you could say, hey, give me stones, or, like some random thing, but they give you money back. So I'm just like, okay, all it is then is I'm just focusing on what energy am I circulating to them? And that's the language I actually use. So even when I talk to people about the cost of our coaching or a product we have, I actually say, instead of the cost, I actually say the energy exchange for this is. And I literally use that language, and you'll actually hear people you'll see people go, wow, it really resonates with them. They really get it. So for me, it's just an energy exchange. So that makes me feel really good, because then all I have to focus on is having whatever I create be such an incredible energy that of course they would want to circulate that energy back. So I really focus on what I'm offering being really incredible. And I think if people feel incongruent about what they're selling, they might not be as connected to the value that they're really offering. So I get so locked in, dead set. Like even the first business for me was health and wellness with Isogenics. Well, I thought it was worth $1 million. I mean, this is your health. So for me, it was like $300, whatever. Like, this is your health, this is your vitality, and that's the energy I had for it. So that's the first thing, is really, if you can see money as energy, that's huge. Then second thing is, for me, and this is a distinction Aaron actually created, my hubby. Say hello to hubby, Aaron. I'll tell him hello for all of you. He created this distinction of a get business versus a give business. So I know for me, and maybe some of you feel this way, that in the past, I felt like I was trying to get something from people. Like I was trying to get money from them. Instead of, he talks about focus on what you're giving. So be a give business. So people really only feel salesy when there's this get energy. Like, no, I got to get something from you. But if there's such an energy of like, I'm so focused on what I'm giving, it's what I'm giving, it's what I'm giving, then it's just a more natural, again, going back to the exchange. So for you, maybe just look at, am I as connected to truly what I'm giving people? And having that kind of an energy, that's when people won't feel sold. Like, you won't have to worry that people are like, oh, you're trying to sell me. They'll truly feel that you're trying to give.
I love that so much. I saw everyone's head nodding when you were talking about that distinction specifically. And it's so true, especially again, for the people who I know are tuning into this, both now and who will watch the recording. All of you are people who have massive value that you're giving. I know for me, one of the blocks that I had was the ability to receive. So where do you see that showing up in some of the coaching you've done, or has that shown up for you and Aaron at all as you are growing in your own mindset around wealth and abundance?
Yes. Okay. So I'll kind of answer it in two ways. So for me, there was the receiving, definitely like the am I worthy? As I shared just what my upbringing was, I had so much unworthiness to overcome. So part of what helped me do that was actually making myself every month receive. So that's how we organized our finances, and we had what we call a fun money account. And that was my way. That's actually part of the T. Harv Eker plan, is I had to receive. So it was not an option of, do I buy myself something or not? There was a certain amount of money I had to spend. And that had me, number one, experience more fun around money instead of it being all about bills or savings or anything like that. So I had to actually go and enjoy shopping. And it was really, for me, tough. I mean, for some people it might not be, but it was like, again, I had so much anxiety around spending, so I had to receive, or go to the shop, or go to the spa, or buy a nicer resort instead of the cheaper resort room. And that for me helped. Just the compounding practice of making myself receive every month, it started to just become more natural. So that was a way for me to put, like, because people will talk about receiving and it can be tough to access. For me, forcing myself to receive really helped over time. So that's the first part I'll share. And then the second thing is, and this is a big part for a lot of entrepreneurs, because Erin and I actually do coaching for some entrepreneurs, is like making the sales process easy for you to receive. And what some people will do subconsciously, like people don't realize that they're actually blocking receiving by making it hard for the person to pay you. So that could look like being like, hey, I'll send you information, get back to me. That's making it hard for them to circulate towards you, rather than just being like, great, let me take your payment information right now. And little like that's how we can really let ourselves receive. Or instead of just having them buy one, maybe some of you are coaches, so I'm going to use that as an example, one coaching call saying, hey, I really encourage you to do this package, and here's why. And then again, taking their payment right then. So that's definitely a way that people subconsciously will block receiving, is making the sales process really tough or long or hard, or just literally I make it super convenient for my clients to just be like, take action right then. And I actually, in the moment of that process, a lot of people will say, oh, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to pray on it, sleep on it. Or they'll just say, yeah, email me the info, I'll sign myself up. Most people talk themselves out of things. It's just how human beings are. And so I actually use that as a coaching moment right then to say, hey, what's going to likely happen is you will talk yourself out of that. And you will just continue to go down the same, path that continues to go. So what I'm going to offer you is actually, let's have you break through this right now by beginning, by investing. And like 98% of people end up going, dang, you're right. Okay, I got to do it. So really standing for people to take action right then is a big way that I help myself receive a lot too.
And what I am totally picking up as you're even dialoguing what that might sound like is you have no energy one way or another around it, other than your commitment to the result that you've had a conversation with this person about producing. Again, going back to that value. And that point, I want to really underline it, because that was something that took me a while to learn over time. And I'm going to have you speak to it, is the difference between how you just were able to deliver that in a way that is conveying the value versus an energy of attachment. Because I think that's a stage a lot of us tend to go through. We're almost kind of dipping into the sales conversation of next week, but it's perfect because it's so wrapped in this abundance conversation. Mm-hmm. So attachment versus being in flow, being in alignment, however you want to say it. What does that look like, and how can we shift it?
Gosh, there's so much to say there. Okay, well, so I'll first talk like the little mindset. You can kind of see how my brain works, right? I kind of create bullet points in myself.
I love it.
This first, then this. So, okay, I really had to start to believe that source always provides for me. So I could let go of attachment of who it was, who's going to sign up, who's not, when I just knew that source would provide what I declare and what I desire and what I need. And I believe in not, people talk a lot about the law of abundance, but there's also the law of sufficiency, which if you think about it, so quick segue, nature lives in sufficiency, not as much abundance. So but everybody talks about abundance, you need more and more and more and more. But nature is really about sufficiency. A tree has just the amount of water that it needs around it. It doesn't have a pool of water laying around it. Animals don't collect animals or whatever they're eating. They grab what they need for that season. And so I really have focused on what do I, not just basic needs, but what do I desire that's sufficient for even some luxuries and things like that. And then just trust source has got me. So whatever you call your source. And that's a huge part. So for me, money has been a lot of spiritual work as well. Really believing I'm provided for and that it's always going to come, even if it's in unexpected ways. So then that helps me be less attached to that it has to be this person, because whenever I've let go of attachment, because it comes up, we're human, right? So I have to just like feel it, go, okay, I'm feeling that attachment, breathe into it, release it consciously. If I let go of the attachment to that person, someone comes like an hour later, who's like, I'm ready to go. And you're like, oh my gosh, So it's truly that trust and belief has helped a ton. And then as far as the mechanics and actually what that's looked like in me having conversations with people is when I'm standing for them in that conversation, it's really not about dollars to me. Because another thing I'll share is I've built such a relationship to money again that it's energy, but I have an energy about it that it's like monopoly money. Like I don't have this like crazy significance about it. Like I really have this energy of like, we got this life. I kind of feel like life is a little bit of a game. Now I know it's a serious game. It's an important game. But I create this energy of like, we all can play for this monopoly money. And that helps me just realize that I'm not talking to them about money, because it's not. Even their decision isn't about money at all. It's about them believing in the value and believing in themselves. So I focus my energy on the value and them believing in themselves. And that's what I'm thinking about, focusing on, and it's not about dollars. And I think people can just feel that. So perhaps, before sales conversations that you have, take a moment and get present to that it isn't about money, you're provided for, and that you're standing for them to get the value that you have.
That's so good. Did everyone else get a bunch out of that? You guys can also, since I didn't mention it, you can type questions into the chat. We will open it up for live Q&A at the end, but made sure I wanted to mention that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the role that network marketing has played in your journey, because obviously we are putting this on as a network marketing community. I'm a huge fan of what that business model can do to set up business owners and to have multiple streams of income. So share a little bit from your experience, who you've seen network marketing is a good fit for, who it might not be, and just how you talk to other business owners about that vehicle specifically.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, diversification is the future. People really are wanting to diversify, and there's so many ways. And network marketing was my first business, and I had no idea what it was. So it was funny to learn really what it was. And it just makes sense because I was always that person. Jill, like I should have made $1 million from Lululemon. Like I had so many people go to Lululemon. I was a natural person that if I liked something, I would share about it. So to me, network marketing is like the best business model there is, because if I believe in something, I'm going to tell 100 people. So I love it for that reason. And then, of course, finding a company that you believe in. So diversification for sure. To this day, Erin and I diversify, not too quickly. You don't want to start like 5 income streams at one time, but 1 or 2 income streams. But I feel like network marketing is becoming, and even though Erin and I build it differently than we did in the beginning, we are so grateful, number one, that we're still paid residually years later, but that it's people having a positive impact made. And so I feel like network marketing is a great fit for all entrepreneurs who are natural sharers, who, even if, let's say you're a business coach or if, a personal trainer, you're going to have people around you ask about something, right? So that you might align with a network marketing company, whether it's essential oils or it's health and wellness or whatever it is. There's so many different companies. So having an alliance with a company that you can refer people to, just to me makes sense. And even though, like I said, Erin and I build it differently now with the couples that we coach, like 70% of them have a health goal. So of course, why wouldn't we align with a company that has a health and wellness offering, right? And it's just a huge contribution, and it's residual, and it's a great way to have people get something that I believe in.
I love that. So well said. If people, because I don't want to step over that, when I was brand new, I didn't really understand the difference between like a residual stream of income, and there's other forms too. You can create evergreen products. You can create, I know you guys have courses. So what is the difference for a business owner of creating something that's residual versus a transactional type of product or service? Because I think it's important to distinguish the two.
Totally, absolutely. So, people will have a program or a product that somebody can buy once. So you'll get paid one time for that, and that's awesome. And we have products and services like that. And then residual income would be where not only do you get paid on the first transaction, but every single time they buy it, right? So it's like you almost own a percentage of every transaction that they make. So there's people who enrolled 5 years ago that to this day still order. So I'm paid, month and month and month and month and month, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's such a great way of describing it. And I love how you said, there's actually a time and a place for both. And same with us. We have both in our, I guess you could say, portfolio. Okay, so I want you to share some of the cool and crazy things that have happened as far as things that you've been able to, whether you want to say manifest or opportunities that have come along as you have grown your financial mindset. Because again, as your friend, I've gotten to watch just some incredible things happen, from meeting Mackenzie in the airport, what that led to. And then even, I don't know what you can share about what's going on right now, but I want everyone to see, so I'm asking this because I want everyone to see what can happen and what will happen as we just dedicate daily intention to growing this area of our mindset. So will you share just some of the cool and crazy things that have happened for you?
Absolutely. So again, because we really believe that money is energy, we want the energy to keep circulating. And that's one thing I really value from T. Harv Eker's work is he doesn't teach people just keep money stagnant. So even with the money that we earned with our first business, Isogenics, we put it in the bucket system that he teaches in that Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and we had our investment bucket. And we're like, okay, well, we want to keep circulating this money that we've earned. And what we just put out there, we put out to the source, to universe, we wanted to manifest a unique business investment, something different, different than real estate, different than any of the traditional ones. Not that we're against those. We were just seeking something creative and different. 2 weeks later, we're standing in the airport line on the way to an Isogenics conference, and this girl comes running up, and she's running late, and she says, "Can I cut?" And of course, yes. And I was like, I just turned to her and said, "How, you having a tough day?" Just kind of said it jokingly. And she's like, "Yeah, I had to go back and get these shoes because this 2 bags, this is all I have." And I was like, "Why is that all you own?" She's a young girl. She looks really similar to how I do. And she says, "Well, I'm building this company and I'm traveling the country, going to sales meetings, investor meetings, just trying to get it started up." And it's turned out to be dessert hummus. So if any of you have had Delighted by Dessert hummus, anybody have tried it? It's awesome. Okay, good. And I'm like, wow. And so literally she would never know it. And that's where, again, you're always provided for. Here I am, this young girl in yoga pants, probably Lululemon. She thinks, I'm just like a young girl, right? And I'm like, oh, we're actually looking for investments. And she actually told us later, she thought we were talking like $500 or something, like, oh, we got $500 for you. But we were serious. And because we kept, we were smart with the money we made through our business. And so we invested in her 2 weeks later. And then within 9 months, it was on Shark Tank. And we're working to sell it to like Coca-Cola, Pepsi in the next couple months to the year. And it'll be awesome when that happens.
Putting it lightly.
Very exciting lifestyle for sure. But that truly was but here's the thing. Okay. And this is good that you talked about attachment. When we invested in her, number one, we were told by our financial advisors that it was too risky. Don't do it. And you might have people in your life telling you, no, don't invest in that mastermind or that program, or that's expensive, or you might doubt something, or, something might seem scary to you as an investment. What we said about then, right then, when we were about to send the money to her was, we totally believed it was going to work. The company, it hadn't even been on one shelf. Now it's in like 4,000 stores, but it hadn't even been in one store. But we said, even if we lose it, we'll be happy we did it. And that's for you in anything that you sign up. If you can release attachment to it, if you could sign up for the course or for the mastermind or invest in your business marketing or something, and just be willing to like trust it and let it go. Like some of us just like grip onto money and we're like, I gotta have this money, and so we just really released it. And of course it'll be an extreme miracle. And then just throughout, like anytime we declared, all right, we're going to double our income this month or something, maybe we wouldn't always meet it, but we would just keep declaring these miracles. We would just keep declaring this. And maybe that's something for you. Maybe you haven't like said to source, like, show me what you can do. Like send me twice as much money this month, and really kind of play with source and declare things that seem like miracles, that are uncomfortable, and watch source really provide. And so I guess I could share a little bit, but you guys have to keep this on the DL, okay? Because we haven't said this publicly. But another thing with money mindset was, again, we just say miracles out there. So one day I was like, man, I feel like we're going to meet a celebrity soon. And I just put it out there, and and 2 weeks later, a celebrity was in our living room. And I was like, like the universe really can surprise you. And ended up just really like supporting them in their relationship. And when they came to pay us, something in me said, don't take their money. And again, I mean, they're wealthy. I could charge them anything I want, but I just said, don't do it. Like, it's not about money. Release attachment to it. Just keep giving to them. Keep offering value, being unattached. And so maybe that's there for you. Maybe there's someone that could be a great partner or alliance. How could you just give to them and trust something will always happen? So they called a few months later and said that they wanted to help us get a TV show and another national book. And so now we're in the works of building out that TV show concept and the book concept to pitch to the publishers. And that just came from literally just being like, I'm just going to give and give and give, and trust value will come back.
So you all will be able to say, oh my goodness, I met that girl. We did a Zoom call with her and her husband. And that's the thing. I want people to hear that, because it has been because of the work you've done on yourself, and you are at a point where you're ready for that. Mm-hmm. So wherever each of us are, just being okay, being in the phase that we're at, and knowing that any of this and so much more is available when we do the work, when we invest, and when we keep releasing attachment, because it's a moment by moment thing.
Totally. I love that you said that too, because, keep putting out these next, goals and dreams and visions, but do them also what you can believe in. Like, what's a stretch? What's a miracle? But what can your identity still believe in? Like, if I declared a TV show 5 years ago, my identity would have been like, yeah, right. Or what's going to happen with Delighted By. So really set things too that your identity isn't going to reject, and know that like you're going to keep growing and growing and growing. And don't get discouraged by like where you're at now, because you're going to wake up a few months and grow, and then it's going to keep compounding. And I love Tony Robbins' quote on, you'll be more, or it's what most people think they can do. Oh gosh, I'm going to mess it up now. It's like what most people think they can do in a decade. Do you know it, Lindsay? I'm totally messing it up. But I
don't know if this is the one you're thinking about we overestimate what we can accomplish in a year and underestimate what we can accomplish in like 5 or 10. Exactly. Something like that.
You nailed it. I was way off. Yeah. So basically just keep going. And I want to just really, and I know you want to open up to Q&A, but really want to underscore the getting a coach or a mentor to debrief how your business is going. Like, don't go months and months continuing to have the same thing not go well. Have somebody literally look at like how you're saying things, how you're doing things, and that accelerate. Erin and I have invested very high-end coaching to get coached, because we didn't want to make these errors for long periods of time. We wanted to like do it for a day and then correct, and that keeps compounding as well.
Which you actually answered a question that I was going to wrap up with. If there's anything else you want to say on this, is talk about the value of investing in yourself, and even investing at levels that make you a little uncomfortable. That's going to maybe not relate to every single business owner, but you've touched on it a few times. So if you want to just say anything else on that.
Yeah, I mean, really, you have like, and it's, especially if you're having people invest in themselves in any kind of business that you have, whether it's investing in their health and wellness or investing in your coaching, you've also got to be someone who invests in yourself. And that's actually been why I can stand for our coaching prices, is because I've invested 10 times. So I can sit with integrity, say, I know what it's like to be afraid. I get it. I know what that's like. And just continuing to grow. And I think it's really, it's again, like really just making yourself a priority and growing. And Erin and I always kind of do something different. Sometimes we'll do a business class, sometimes we'll do a spiritual class, a mindset. So we keep it changing as well. But you've got to invest in yourself, like whatever it is, whatever program, workshop, event, it's like you've got to do it. And money will always come back like 3 to 5 to 10 times more.
So good. Okay, before I forget to mention it, this is the other note I wrote down. So you were talking a little bit about, in T. Harv Eker's book, he talks about this bucket system, basically designating a job for every dollar that comes in. So if you read that book, or if you've read it, you have heard about that. For business, I just read one that takes a similar approach, but it has you look at the profits that you want to make in your business first. It's literally called Profit First. And it's an excellent book for anyone who has a business. Highly, highly recommend, because it teaches you to set up a system for your money coming in through your business from day one. And so I wanted to make sure to mention that. If anyone else has questions, we have a couple more minutes. We can dive in. I know I have already gotten so much out of this, and I know you better than
thanks.
Many people, but I just could listen to you all day long. So anyone else have?
I'd run out of something. Like my throat would actually start to hurt. So I don't think a whole day works.
Then we just let Aaron talk, and we all know he could really carry the conversation.
Yeah, so I'm totally open to questions, and you can ask me anything about the money conversation. Anybody have anything?
Anyone have a question we didn't ask, or you can also share something that was like an aha for you. Give some value back to Miss Jocelyn.
I'll jump in. Hi, Joss.
Hi, babe.
Hi, and hey, no shame in my game. I'm drinking a beer, too.
Get it, girl.
So if you guys saw me, like, mid-conversation, just taking one back, I've had a long day with the kids.
Aww, good for you.
Wow, I am blown away by you in this conversation. I needed to hear all of these pearls, so thank you. I have 8 Post-it notes right next to me with honestly gold. But I'm really curious, and I just am in the mindset of delivering a message virtually. So how do you show up authentic, like with your authentic voice, you and Erin, so people can follow along and love you in a different way than just your professional world and what you talk about professionally? Kind of building an audience while still inspiring them and being true to yourself. Like there's a fear that I have around showing face on social media that I need to get over, and I just am looking to people who are doing it really well, and I admire both of you for your presence online, and I would love a few of your favorite tips.
Oh gosh, okay, so that's a big one there. I gotta like switch my gears are like going over here. I would say like I had to face if I was afraid of a certain person or people seeing something and what I was afraid they'd think or say. So I had to like actually confront that and like imagine them saying it. And some people even did say whatever they thought. And so I had to be willing to like hear that. And so that's been a powerful exercise for me. And then be like, oh, okay, if that's the worst that could happen, okay, that's not that bad, right? I guess I'll share my truth anyway. And then just creating like a promise, to myself, like, okay, I'm going to post something every single day and promising myself. And I even find that my most authentic posts come after I meditate, I'm journaling, I'm just kind of like discovering something that just showed up in a conversation. And that's when I try to post, is right after I've had like a time to fill my cup and really just do something that is meaningful so that it's not like a forced post. And then I just imagine my avatar. So I imagine that I'm talking to them and they need to hear it. And that was a big thing for me to get over, honestly, was I wanted to be able to speak to everybody. And so I was kind of like diluting my message or kind of sort of saying what I meant. But instead, I'm like, I'm just going to talk to my avatar. And even if that's 10 people right now that are seeing this, that are my avatar, that's okay. And just, it's not about anyone else. And I've had friends or family just be like, well, you know, that was a weird pose, or why would you say that, or anything like that. And I'm like, well, you're not my avatar, you know, so it's not about you. I'm out to help certain people, right? So I don't know if that helps, but I would just say, like, create a game about it and imagine your avatar when you're writing to them.
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Can I interject?
Please, yeah.
I think that was perfect, kind of going off what Jill said. I am a fitness professional, so a lot of my stuff is I'm an indoor cycling instructor by nature, and I'm trying to get into the whole fitness world as well. And a lot of my connection is in front of people, and it's just really high energy, and it's really emotional sometimes and just crazy. But going off what Jill was saying, I too want to reach a lot of people through social media. And I just wanted to tell you that was a real aha moment for me, what you just said, because I never want to use my post to say a ton. Like, I have so much to say, but I'm like, no one's going to read this like 8-paragraph post. They're just going to double tap the pretty picture and they're going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have really short, like, actual posts, but it's not serving me or my avatar or the people who actually need to see it. So I just wanted to say thank you for saying that, because I need to think more of a giving mindset and just give the information, just give it and believe that someone's going to find value in it and take the time to read it. So thank you for giving me that.
Absolutely. And I wanted to add, if it's okay too, that while social media is super important, I'm probably an even bigger advocate of events. And you can still reach the masses or even people outside of Arizona or wherever everybody is. But I would say, if you're out to be a leader, a speaker, an influencer in any way, is to start to host your own events. They don't have to be crazy. They don't have to be big and like just the once a year conferences, like something ongoing, because to me, that has me even identify more of what my avatar wants and needs, and then be able to communicate some of that on social media. So a ton of business has come from social media, but social media is what's the word for it? It's a traffic strategy. You have to then have a monetization strategy after that. So focus on social media, but also know, how do you take them from social media and engage them next to then move them into a potential client? Because people will just focus on, I got to build more followers and followers. Aaron and I are probably making a lot more than people with 1 million followers, because we've taken the traffic and we know how to monetize it. So just make sure you're not so focused on social without knowing how you're gonna, it's like, that's the first date, or that's like your first meeting. How are you gonna take them on the first date?
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Any final thoughts, final questions?
Can I get your social media? I want your Instagram.
Oh yeah, meet the Freemans.
Meet the Freemans.
But you've only met one Freeman, but on Instagram you'll meet
There's two.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Christina, we have to bring the Freeman duo to one of your classes. Her husband, Aaron, literally brings the level up like 10 notches any room he is in. You would
Every teacher's like, you're my favorite participant ever.
Every spin class we go to, this instructor acknowledges him for the energy he brings.
Yes.
Let's go. Come on in. It's on me.
Okay. Let us know, Lindsay. Let us know when we can go.
Okay, it's a date.
Awesome.
Okay, guys, any final questions, just final takeaways for Jocelyn?
Jocelyn, I have a question for you. Not playing on social media at all, but just respecting you as an entrepreneur. And it sounds like the journey that you've been on, you've done a lot of work around mindset. What would you say are your top tips, or even top tip, for when you start to feel yourself, and probably more so when you were first starting than now, but to kind of start to doubt yourself and feel like you're kind of going backwards in all the work you've done on your mindset, when you kind of fall back into that old pattern or feel that funkiness or whatever? What do you do, and what have you done, especially when you were first starting, to really like get a hold of your mindset and and rely on what you know is to be true, not just the doubt that's creeping in.
Totally, yes. Well, and doubt still comes up, you know, even with what happens, like there's always then the doubt, because it's like that little voice just never goes away, right? The noise, it's always got some chatter going. But I definitely, I distinguish, like, and Peta Kelly had a great word of the voice versus the noise. So I really pay attention to what's the noise and what's the voice. So when I notice doubt come up, whether now or in the past, I face it, I acknowledge it, because what we resist persists. So I have to face whatever's coming up and then just, you know, say, okay, like, where'd that come from? From me, what helps, and I think it's probably different, like, for everybody's energy. Everybody has a different energy, a different kind of personality and work style. For me, being in daily momentum really helps. So especially when I was really like launching the business and growing, like I made sure to do something every single day, or many things. And that helped my mindset, because I started to doubt myself a lot when I wasn't in action. Like I really started to notice it was when I was procrastinating or making something too big of a deal that I would really then start to doubt. So action really helped me believe in myself, because I was like, oh, okay, like I can persist even beyond whatever my mind is saying. And then the biggest thing I'd say was always being present to my vision. So I really find, and to this, Erin and I addressed our vision today. Like we were both disconnected from it. So we got out our whiteboard and we got reconnected to our vision, and we wrote it all out and got present to it so that we could feel it. So that's something I would just check in on, is if you're feeling doubt, you're procrastinating, like any resistance is coming in, check in. Am I connected to my vision? And I know Jill did last week on vision. And that's, we don't just get our vision once and we're like, good. It's like daily, sometimes hourly, like, why am I doing this again? Oh yeah. You know, just really keeping that present. And so that's a part of our ritual, at least weekly, to get present to that. And then everything else is like just supposed to be a part of that and really fulfilling that vision, because we have to become the people who can receive what we're receiving. So it's like, I know that if I can face the fear, face the doubt, I'm becoming the person that's that can receive that big vision, if that makes sense.
So good. I would even add on to that. I notice when I'm feeling that way, and Jen and I, we've had this conversation, where am I focusing? Because I'm usually focusing on something that's not happening or what I'm not doing enough of, versus that's a very different feeling than when I am connected to that vision. And the vision is the part that kind of makes you want to puke, because it's so exciting, but it's like in a good way, like you're on a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. So even just paying attention to the difference of how those two feel, and knowing that you're going to find yourself in both spaces as you grow.
Ooh, can I add one 30-second thing? And then
totally can.
What's also helped, Jen, is if I'm noticing any doubt or negative thought, for me, what I've started to go is, oh, what is that pointing me to learn? So if I'm doubting my skill at something or my ability to do something, or if something's going to happen, I go, oh, what skill could I go learn? And then I notice if I focus on the learning and really whatever that is that I'm being called to learn, then of course the doubt would disappear. So if it's like about a sale or it's about a business, I would just be like, oh, what do I need to go learn more? Because that's where we can have power, is through action and learning. And then I would just be like, oh, okay, I'll read a book about that, or I'll go to a class about that. And then I just focus on moving forward.
So good. I feel like we crammed 3 calls worth of value into one call. You over-delivered and then some. I will make sure to share your social media and all the places that people can find you with everyone when we share the recording. But thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
I believe in you all. Powerhouse women!
And men, Elliot.
I'm still here.
We don't know he's part of Powerhouse Women.
Yeah.
I carry my security around with me everywhere now. It's just how life goes. But thank you so much. And like I said, next week, you guys, we are going to be talking a little bit deeper about taking this conversation specifically into sales. And you will leave next week's conversation with a breakthrough, some brand new freedom around sharing unapologetically what your gifts and talents are. I am so excited for it. And then you all have the schedule for the calls that are coming in the next few weeks. But I really want to acknowledge you for showing up live, because it takes something, especially as we get into November, December. You are going to get 10 times more value if you're showing up live. And yes, I'm leaving this on the recording so everyone can see it. But thank you so much for spending a little bit of time tonight with all of us. And I love you all. We'll talk soon.
Talk
Okay,
soon.
bye.
Bye, everybody.